Hello, welcome to part 2 of the Sparks 1524 look at the USS Alabama Battleship Memorial Park. I'm Nathaniel Miller, coming to you from fabulously fun and family-friendly Niceville, Florida. As you drive east or west on Interstate 10, you will see the battleship USS Alabama guarding the entrance to Mobile Bay. A museum ship since 1964, the Alabama served during World War II. Commissioned in 1942 during the early dark days of the war, the ship's life actually began before that. Now, if you visited one of the later battleships we built, such as the USS Wisconsin on display in Norfolk, Virginia, and then visit the USS Alabama, you'll notice the Alabama seems rather short and stumpy compared to the later USS Wisconsin. The South Dakota class was designed in the 1930s under the restrictions of the Washington Naval Treaty. In order to build a battleship that had the right guns and armor to realistically go up against an enemy battleship, but maintain weight class as required by the treaty, the South Dakota class clocked in at only 660 feet long. Once the Iowa class was laid down, that treaty restriction no longer mattered, and so the Iowa class come in at over 800 feet. The Alabama first served in the Atlantic from 1942 until 1943, working with the British and other Allied forces. In 1943, the ship sailed to the Pacific, where she participated in every major Pacific campaign through the end of the war. Once you board the battleship, you'll be coming up right next to the No. 3 gun turret. The Alabama sports 9 16-inch 45 caliber guns. These guns could fire a shell that weighed over 2,000 pounds over 23 miles. If you head to the forward end of the Alabama on her weather deck, you'll see you can actually climb into the No. 1 gun turret. Once inside, you'll discover that despite the fact this turret is a very big object on deck, there is very little space inside. Once you're ready to go below decks, the museum staff and volunteers have laid out several color-coded tours that are all self-guided and will let you explore the battleship in varying degrees of detail. As you tour the Alabama's engine rooms, you'll hear the roar of machinery. This isn't some ghostly encounter with the spirits of the long dead, nor is it a science fiction time warp snapping you back to the dark days of World War II. This is a recording the museum staff and volunteers have set up to allow visitors to get a better idea of conditions for the sailors working in these spaces. Having been stationed aboard one of the last traditionally steam-powered ships in the U.S. Navy myself, the amphibious assault ship USS Ponce, I spent many hours in her engine rooms photographing her crew since I was the media specialist. I can testify that the sound and volume are completely accurate. This is the sound of a battleship's engine room. Another point of interest below decks is the chance to enter the barbettes. Now, the barbettes are the giant tubes that support the guns up on the deck. The barbettes house the machinery that turned those giant turrets, and also the machinery that brought the shells and the powder topside. As you continue exploring the maze of passageways inside Alabama's hull, you'll find exhibits dedicated to many different subjects. One room tells the story of U.S. Navy divers. Another tells the story of the destroyer USS Evans, which survived 4 kamikaze hits in 1945. You'll tour the spaces that house the United States Marines who were attached to the ship. The galley and the mess decks where the crew ate. Be sure to look for the battleship's soda fountain and the 2 ice cream machines. Ice cream machines are invaluable on ships even today, trust me on this, but in World War II they enabled that ship to trade for anything the crew wanted. As I said earlier, the Alabama served from 1942 through 1945 in the Atlantic and in the Pacific. She brought home all of her sailors. She never took a hit, and none of her men were killed. She got the nickname the Lucky A. In fact, the Alabama helped lead the U.S. fleet into Tokyo Bay for the surrender of the Japanese forces in late 1945. If you're interested in visiting the USS Alabama Battleship Memorial Park, I have linked their website in the description below. Please check them out. There is a whole lot there to learn, to see, and to do. Also, if you're interested in reading more about my adventures, part 2 of my column on my recent visit to the park is also linked below. As always, if you find this video interesting, please hit the like button and feel free to share it. I look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, have a great Navy day, and remember to go and do great things.